Hey guys, I am Nishant and welcome to Cybernetico. So today in this video we will learn about context API in React and how to use the useContext API. See, we have two components here, home and profile, both at the same level. In the home, we are passing a name, a state called name. In the profile, we are passing the function to set the state of set name. In the profile, we have a button that will change the name to Uday when clicked. Then it will, like, if we change the name, it will be passed here and the name will be passed in the home component like this. So if we click the name, change the name button, the name will change to Uday like this. Let's remove the profile, we don't need that. Alright, fine. Change the name is Uday. So basically we have an app that changes name using two components. It is changing in profile using a button and it's getting displayed in the home component. So where in the both components we are passing name and set name as props. Here we are saving it and destructuring it. But this can cause a lot of like clumsy code. And it also causes one thing which is called prop dealing. For example, let's say we have a component home in the app.js. In the home, we are calling another component as its child. In that child component, like let's say child1, we are calling sub child1. Then we have to pass the name all over. To avoid that, we use something called context API in React. So let's see how it works. So the first step is we have to create a context here. So let's do that. Let's create a folder first called context. Contexts. In the folder, let's create a file called global context. Global context.js. A JavaScript file. Let's import something called create context. This will be used to create a context in the global context.js file. Let's create a const. Let's say user data. Let's create the context using this. Then we have to pass this create context and an empty object here. This user data will be our global object or global state. So we will do an export here if we want to use this user data in other components. Basically, we will import the user data in this component of app.js. So import not create context, user data from context and global context. So now this user data will be imported from here. We have to wrap the both components in the user data like this. Let's make the name as capital. Let's make it as an U. Same here and here. Save this and this. Fine. Then we don't need to like have a self-closing tag here. We have to wrap our components in this user data tag like this. So we are wrapping our home component and profile component in user data. Fine. This was the second step. The next thing we have to do is we have to add a provider. So we will add dot provider. Provider means we are sending data. We have to do it in the both opening and closing tags like this. It's done. It's working perfectly. Now let's pass the data or the functions. Let's say we have to pass some value. We have to pass the value using this value prop. Let's pass the name here because we want to pass the name and set name as well. If we are adding the value here, we don't have to add this here. It will be automatically propagated to both components wrapped in user context. I mean this user data provider. So it's done. Third step. Now let's come into the global context. Okay, not in global context. In let's say home.js. Fine. We don't need to get this from here. Remove this and this as well. So don't save it because you will get an error because name is not defined yet. So now let's get data, because here we are sending data to home and profile, the both name and set name. So this both will be available in home.js as well as in profile.js components. So let's now get data that we're sending. So we will import the same thing, which is use context from React. Also we have to import the context name, which is our user data. So we will say import user data from profile, not profile, two steps back, context and global context. Save this. Wait a second. User data. Fine. We are doing it right. Okay. So in here, we don't have the set name yet. Wait a second. Here, we don't have the set name or name yet. So to get the name, we will simply destructure it. To destructure it, we will do const name equals to, okay, not like this, we have to destructure. So we can say let name equals to, we will have to use context hook and have to pass the context name, which is user data, like this. Now it will work. The same thing we have to do inside profile.js, but we will have to get this thing, set name, not the name, because we are setting it using the function of set name. Also import these two things here and save, enter and save. Now this should work. Now click change the name and it should work. Click it and see, the name is Uday. If you make it to something else like Abhishek and click it again, it will change the name to Abhishek. And that's how the use context hook or context API works in React. So it's a simple example, but you can like do a lot of things with this. Oh, sorry. For example, let's say we had one more component here called settings.js. Make it functional component. Let's import settings component in home.js like this. Import settings. Let's render it out here. Also, let me make it an h1 tag to display it properly. Save. So it's here. So let's say we want to pass the name as props. So it is in the home component. Yes, we have to pass. If we are using props, we have to pass like this, I mean. Then we have to come to home.js. We have to destructure it like this. Then again, we have to pass the name again. Name as name. Then we have to get it again here. So it's a lengthy process. And this thing, passing the state as props, is called prop drilling. So it's coming from app.js to home component, it's coming from home to settings and so on. So basically we don't need to do it here. So remove this, remove prop here and remove this from here. Suppose we want to access the name here as well, we will do the same thing. We will import these things. Okay, let me remove it from here as well. We will import these two things like use context and user data. Come into settings and we have to change the route for this. Yes, it's the same route. We don't have to change it. Fine. Let's do this thing, destructure the context. Now we can print the settings or simply the name here, Abhishek. Let's change a little bit. Say we have to pass one more state. Let's say const active and, or let's say age. Let's pass the age and settings component. Set age. Use state, let's say 51. Age number. So let's pass the age as context here. In the provider, it's passed as a value. Let's also get the settings, but I wait a second. This shouldn't be, we don't have to do it here. It's wrong. So, okay, I mean, if we want the state in the settings, we can pass it here in the value in the provider. Then let's come to the settings page. We will create one more, we will structure it and we will do this. What is that? Age. Age. Let's print the age. Let's try this. See what we get. See, now we are getting the age as well because we are passing the age as global context here in the provider. So that's all, and that's how it works. Our use context API.